This episode of the H.O.P.E podcast is brought to us by the Spotlight Project. The Spotlight Project is a fantastic organization run by fantastic people with the mission of raising employment for individuals with intellectual or developmental disabilities. They create and sell beautiful jewelry, and each individual they employ has an intellectual or developmental disability and a unique story to tell. You can visit them at thespotlightprojectco.com. Again, thespotlightprojectco.com. Use the coupon code HOPE, H-O-P-E. Again, use the coupon code HOPE for 15% off your order. Hope comes from hearing other people's experiences. And with that, we'll turn it over to Miguel McSongway to tell his story. Welcome to Miguel to the H.O.P.E podcast. Blessed to be joined by him today. Got connected with Miguel this week through my cousin Maggie Westerman, who's interning for me for the company, and Miguel's very invested in with the global movement of Black Lives Matter and police reform. Just if you want to walk through kind of the period right after you dropped out of school, and then.
So we moved around a lot because I was in Kenya for a bit. My dad works with the UN, but when we finally came back to Long Island, and I finished my junior year, something happened with school. They thought I was cheating. I wasn't cheating, but I left. And so I was doing this homeschool system, and I didn't finish the senior year, but the film school that I was going to, like the college, they let me get in without a high school diploma, so I was just like, all right, high school doesn't matter. And then I was in that, and I went for the producing program, and then I met a lot of the directors, and they were doing their final project of the year, and they were like, Miguel, I want you to produce my thing, and the head of our department, like of the producing department, said we don't usually let students take on projects like of the directors. We let them take one, maybe if they're an exceptional producer, right? So I had 4 people asking me, and I was managing it, and I was trying to go through class. I was passing out in class, and they were like, and he finally got to the point where I was like sitting in front of the dean, and the dean was like, "Why are you passing out?" And I was like, "Well, I'm up doing all these other things." And they're like, "If you don't stop, we're gonna have to remove you from the program." And I was like, "All right, so just so I'm clear, you guys are gonna kick me out for producing projects in the producing program?" And they were like, "Yes." so I was like, all right, cool, I'm just gonna leave. Right. And so I left. I finished those shorts. Some of them went to festivals. Some of them didn't. We're finishing up with shorts. It is the process. And then out of my entire class, I'm the only person who's working in the industry right now. But the point is that throughout that time, my mom never held me to any standards. She was just like, she required me to hold myself to a certain standard, right? So it was like when I was going to film school, and I was telling her, because it wasn't just like I woke up one morning and was like, I'm gonna drop out. It was like I talked to her a bunch, and she's like, listen, I'm gonna let you drop out because you say you have other avenues and you have a plan for what you're gonna do afterwards. If you do not, within a year, figure out like start making any level of income from this, then I can't support this, and you're gonna go back to college. You're gonna go back to a 4-year college. I was like, all right. I mean, that would suck because I'd be like 20 years old starting school with 18-year-olds, and it would suck. But I agreed to it full right then and there. And so one morning I woke up and was like, all right, it's up to me. Like I have to do this. I have to make sure that, and it's holding yourself accountable for it. It's not the kind of pressure of like, oh, what's that guy doing, or oh, what's this dude doing. No, it's the, what did you do yesterday? What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you doing today that's going to make yourself better? Like, that's all it is. That's all it is. Like, and it's the kind of realization that most people have, like, in their last year of college or their second last year of college when they start getting into their actual major, and it's like, what am I going to do now? You know, like, what, like, the real world comes after this, you know? Like, especially after being, what I preach to a lot of people is I think everyone should take a year off between high school and college, because if you're going from like all the way from middle school, like from middle school till college are 12 straight years where everyone's like, you don't really have to make any actual choices, right? You just have to come and show up and pass, right? Like the biggest choice you have to make is between studying and like going out or whatever. But like realistically, like life choice wise, you don't have to make any real serious choices for 12 years of your life. Then all of a sudden they're like, pay taxes, find rent, like feed yourself every day. I think one of the craziest things was feeding myself every day. It was like waking up and being like, shit, I gotta eat again. I gotta eat tonight. I gotta eat. After I cook myself breakfast every morning, I ask myself, what am I gonna eat for dinner?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, it's weird because it's like it never stops, and it's one of those things that no one tells. I mean, obviously, you gotta eat, and like when you're in high school or whatever, you drive around with your friends, you get McDonald's or whatever, like you hang out and like you eat, right? But when it's different, because like you have to buy the groceries, so like you have to figure out what am I gonna eat. I'm not gonna just buy food to have in the house. I need to buy food I can cook, so I need to know what I'm gonna eat. I have to know what I can and cannot make, and it's like all those things. It's like those steps of being an adult. It's like you don't really figure that out or ask to figure that out until you're on your own. So it's like between high school, when you're old enough, 18, most people should be, when you're old enough to be legal throughout the rest of the world, you don't even have to go anywhere far. Just be in your hometown and just tell your parents, hey, can you guys make me pay rent? What would I need to contribute to do this or X, Y, and Z? Go out, get a job. Try to do everything that you did before, but by yourself, and then realize what kind of a different world it is. And then knowing that information and seeing, like, because on top of all that, like the survival part, like the bare survival part is, be fucking happy. Like, like going through the 12 years of school just to go into a job that you hate, that you don't realize you hate until like 20 years down the line, and then, midlife crisis and you're buying a bike or you're cheating on your spouse or whatever, like whatever nonsense it is. It's like you take that year and you figure out that, oh shit, I never liked architecture. I actually want to be a vet. Mm-hmm. Oh shit, I never liked business. I wanted to be a clown. And like, if you really have passion, you're a living example. If you have a passion in anything, you can make a career out of it. So it's just like, take that year, do the research, figure out what else is in the world. A lot of people that I talk to are like, yeah, my dad could use therapy. Oh, my mom could use therapy. Like, a lot of people are saying that. It's like, that's not good. Like, why are we just doing exactly what they're doing? Like, if you know they had a problem, if you know that the way they did it wasn't the best way, then why are we just gonna go and do it?
So it was a smaller world, and they kind of grew up in their town. And I was actually reading a book about relationships, and I don't remember statistics ever, but the statistics on people finding their spouse in or around their hometown in that generation are like staggering compared to ours. And because it's just one small example, they had much fewer choices, and they kind of just lived that life the way that they thought that they were supposed to, as you said. And so now generation after generation that gets passed down, and we're in the same thing where they're trying to teach us how to live that same life. A lot of parents, and they're doing the best they can. Again, I always say they're really doing the best they can. It's not their fault. It's just what they were taught, and they think teaching it to us is the same. But it's a new world. We live in a new world of information and data.
So it's like, I'd rather go into something to guess my level best, and one of two things are gonna happen: either I'm wrong or I'm right. If I'm right, awesome, I never messed up, and then that stress of like trying to get it right the first time will make sure I never forget it, or I'm wrong, and then the failure will make sure that I never forget it. And that's just my mentality going through things. So it's like, I'm not really afraid to do anything for the first time, like get it done. It's my problem then comes if I've done it and then I get it wrong again. Because then I'm like, all right, it was funny the first time, but like I know what I'm doing now. I should have this down. Right. So like don't ever feel pressure.
No, that's great. Honestly, great life philosophy, because it's so important to fail. Like, it's important to. I love failing, because it's every time you fail, you're just one step closer to doing something that's a success, to succeeding.
Exactly.
And you need to fail every day, because that's how you grow. You said it, and again, you said it perfectly. There's just so much more information these days. The internet, social media. You can see that kid in China do the Rubik's Cube in 4 seconds, and you're like, why isn't my kid doing that? And your kid can see that too. We have all this pressure to get to good grades, to go to a good college, so you can get the job that you're going to end up hating, and just to pay back all the debt you took out to go to college. So much pressure to be perfect, and I love the idea of taking a year off after high school. It makes so much sense, But again, these societal norms, these things we're told to do, are just brainwashed into us, and we believe that's what we have to do. And if we don't, we're going to be terrible human beings. past few days I've been just listening and watching a lot of YouTube videos on Black leaders and trying to hear their perspectives and then hear their life experiences. I believe it was Denzel Washington, and he was talking about how if you're good at something or if you're passionate about something, just do it. Serve other people. Don't worry about the money. Do it. Keep doing it. Believe in yourself that you're gonna be successful doing it. And he told the story of his barber, and when he grew up, and he was paying $10 a haircut when he was younger in his career, not wealthy, and he kept the same barber with him his whole life. And by the time when he got famous, he was paying that barber $100K a haircut, and the barber was making $3 million a year. And eventually, he shaved his hair off, and so he gave the barber a severance. The barber now owns 3 salons and two haircutting schools, and that's is making like $10 million a year. That's a haircutter who loved cutting hair, was good at it, did it to serve other people, didn't worry about the money, and manifested an unbelievably successful career out of doing just that, serving others.
He also lucked out that he cut a black man's hair. Because whenever I catch a good barber, I'm like, I will travel, like, move earth, wind, and fire to get back to my barber.
Whatever you like, whatever you're passionate about or good at, you can make a career out of and be happy doing it.
It's definitely important, and it ties in I think more so the idea of breaking the norms ties in so much with what's going on right now with like the Black Lives Matter movement. But when I lived in Kenya, a lot of the people I grew up with over there went to British schools, and they were talking to me and they're asking me, what's going on in the States. So my mom went to school at NYU actually. Mm-hmm. Not NYU, sorry, another school in New York, but not NYU.
Okay.
And she went to be a nurse. And when she was 21, 22, how old I am right now, she also, there was a shooting of a smaller man. He had, he shot up somewhere in the Bronx, and they marched. But they were a lot more violent back then.
Right.
I think they killed 1 or 2 other people during their protest, but she protested too. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about it. She was like, if you told me that the very thing I'm mad and protesting about right now, 25 years later, my son would be protesting about the same thing, I think you're crazy. Mm-hmm. Right? But here we are. And the only reason that I think it's so important that we keep talking about this movement this time is because everyone's mad enough, like everyone. I mean, we all should have had enough a long time ago, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of people who talk to me are like, it's crazy, like this is the one thing. And I was like, this isn't the one thing, like it's just that this is the straw that broke the camel's back. One other thing that I absolutely love, is that people are protesting and walking and coming up with ideas. People are coming up with like, we want legislation change. Here are ways to defund the police. Here are alternatives for the police. We're not just mad. We don't just want these guys in jail. We want all of these guys in jail. We want this whole system changed. They're trying to put the same Band-Aid over the same cut. And it's like, we don't want Band-Aids anymore. Like, we're tired of Band-Aids. We're tired of you putting up a statue or electing a new black person or whatever. We want you to get rid of the knife altogether. Like, that's really what it is. That's what it's come to. Where I stand on it, I think the idea of police is a fantastic idea. Like, the idea of people who wake up every morning and choose to give up their lives for an idea that is accepted by society. Because that's what a law is. A law is an idea that is accepted by a group of people.
Social contract.
Exactly. And there's a group of people who want to wake up every day and give their lives to protect the written laws that we've all accepted, right? But that's not what the police are. So like, that's, in my opinion, it's like they need to be completely like fundamentally changed, because if they were sticking to what they actually are, like what a policing department is supposed to be, then I'd have no problem. We would never be here. Yeah. Because they would look at everyone with a blind eye and just attack the problem as it is, attack every situation as it is.
First of all, our company is definitely about diversity of ideas, and so I definitely want to dive more into, I know you're involved with police reform and have some ideas and working on some, and definitely want to dive into those. I just want to talk about like beliefs kind of, and I think it's important, I don't claim to know what the answer is on most issues. In my opinion, the first step is talking about it, and that's what this company is about, hearing your experiences, because we need to do something. This shouldn't be an issue that anyone's against. There are definitely people in this country who are just racist, and they should just be outcasted from society. They think that black people are less than them because of the color of their skin. There's a lot of people in this country who don't think that they're racist, don't believe they're racist, don't think that the things that they say or do are racist, because that they have never either lived the experiences that you've lived, or that they've never lived them, or they've never heard them. They've never heard them. They've never empathized with them. That's why the first step, I think, is talking about it, hearing those experiences, and then we find the solution. And there's a lot of good ideas for solutions. I don't know what it is, but I can promise you the solution is not what we're doing right now, because people are angry, and you might not be angry out there. You know, I'm at this point angry, but maybe 2 years ago when some of these things happened, I wasn't angry. I didn't fully understand it. Living experiences, and you know, we just talked about it with Tanner, and I'll put that podcast out first so people can hear how my kind of beliefs changed. But being so close with him, being part of situations where he was judged because of the color of his skin, with police and not with police, just with regular people, these are things people don't hear about or know. And so someone out there may be thinking, you know, defund police, that's radical, that's crazy, but I'm sure Miguel can share story after story about how he was discriminated against, or his friends were discriminated against because of the color of his skin, that would never have happened to a white person. And that's what has brought him to this belief. He's not making it up. He's not like, you know, a communist trying to overthrow the government. He believes, and I'll speak for him, he believes, because of his life experience, that this is the solution. When I get pulled over by a cop, I've been pulled over 3 times. Oh. Every single time I've been pulled over, I've been hopeful. I've felt hope that I'm going to get out of this thing. There's still a good chance I'm going to get a ticket, but I feel hope that I'm going to get out of it.
So when I moved back to Long Island, when I moved back to New York, I was in junior year, I was 16, and one night, I don't know, there's some girlish year, whatever God reason gave me to leave, I left my place. I was in Mineola, and I drove to Long Beach, and it was, I went to the beach, and I just chilled out on the beach for a little bit by myself, listened to some music, sad hours, and then I'm driving back, and it's like 1 a.m., right, and there's me and one other guy on the road, and I'm a speed dude, I'm not gonna lie, I was probably going like 80 something, mm-hmm. And then I hear sirens in the back, and these are the thoughts that went through my brain. Oh my God, it's the cops. Oh my God, do I have my wallet on me with my driver's license? Oh my God, this is my mom's car. She had it was a 2014 RAV4, I think the year was 2016, mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, I was 17, not 16, sorry. So it was a new car, right? And then I was like, oh my God, me and my mom, she kept her maiden name. So I was like, oh my God, me and my mom have different names. So if I pull out the insurance, it's going to pull out a different name than what's on my driver's license. And all I thought was, oh my God, black kid in a new car, they're going to think I stole it, they're going to kill me. If this cop pulls me over, I'm going to die tonight. That's what I thought. And I was like, and I slowed down, and I was freaking out. I was like, please God, like if there's anything else, like luckily he pulled over the other guy. Like, but I mean, when I tell you this is exactly what happened, was I was chilling. I was on the highway, like I was going fast. That happened, and it was a 30-minute car ride. I got home. There's no music for the rest of the car ride. I just sat there in silence. I got home, got in the garage, and I cried. I cried in the driver's seat because I was like, that's insane. Like I was really open to the idea that I was going to die tonight, and there was nothing I could do about it. But for the sole reason that if I A, didn't have my wallet, and B, that my mom chose to keep her maiden name, like that was it. And even those things couldn't have stopped me. Like that really couldn't have mattered just because I was in the 2014 RAV4. I was fully accepting the idea that tonight was the night that I died. And the crazier part, the part that probably shows you privilege, what privilege really is that the only people I've told that story, aside from you and everyone who's going to listen to this podcast, is the only people I've ever told that story are my black friends who lived in Long Island, because I won't even tell my black friends in Africa because they don't really even, right. I mean, they know what it is. Obviously, they know what racism is, but like the way we experience racism in Africa is so much different. Like it's not as in your face as it is here. And I think I might have told my mom. I probably didn't even tell my mom because what black mothers tell their sons is, are you sure you're gonna wear that? Not because it looks edgy or not because you look emo, but because a cop might be concerned. When I tell you, dude, that my mom, when we moved back here, she wouldn't let me go out if I had a sweater on at night. She wouldn't let me go out. I had to have a t-shirt on all the time. She made sure I was buying clothes that had bright colors on them all the time, constantly. And it was to the point that I was 21 years old. I was going outside to get like a drink or soda or some shit. It was the middle of the day, and I looked at myself. I was like, I can't wear this. I changed. I was like, I can't wear this. And I changed. And I asked my mom, hey, does this look okay? She's like, yeah. And like the fact that I have to do that every morning, I decide to leave the house, because I mean, like, I'm totally honest with myself. I'm a black kid with like very visible tattoos. I have earrings and I have dreads. But even if I wasn't all that, like when I was 16, I just had dreads. I didn't have tattoos. I didn't have any piercings. All I had was dreads, and I still did that same thing. It's just a practice now. And I was just rethinking about it as all this was going on. But like, that's not new. Like, that had been happening to me since I moved back to the States. Is I'd go through that normal practice, and my mom like asked like before I left the house, I'd look at her like, you know, do I look okay? Like, she would never like say like, oh, you look acceptable. But like, I'd always check with her. Like I'd always pass by her like, hey mom, I'm leaving, and she'd look at me, and then she'd be like, all right, okay, bye. Like, she would never say like, you're okay. Like, there was always that connection that I'm showing you I'm wearing something good enough to not get shot. She's like, okay, that looks acceptable, but you know, be safe still.
You know, I recorded my friend Tanner's podcast and this podcast back to back, and he told me almost the exact same thing. And he wasn't making it up. You're not making it up, and certainly both of you are not making it up. And we talked about this as well when I told a story about Tanner facing racism to my cousin this morning, Lucy. I felt the need and the subconscious need to qualify him after I told her the story. You know, Tanner's from, he's British and French, very tall, well-dressed, well-spoken, he does cancer research, very intelligent. I felt the need to tell her that, and then she kind of mentioned, she's like, isn't it kind of sad that like you feel the need to say that? And I said yes, and I didn't even realize. And right there, that's just inherent bias. The story of you getting pulled over, not getting pulled over. I love that story. I think it's so powerful because of the fact that you didn't get pulled over, but it's the thoughts that you had would never even cross my mind. Yeah. You know, I'd be maybe a little bit nervous about getting a ticket, like, oh, my mom's gonna be mad. But the thoughts of, you know, I'm gonna end up dying, that would never cross my mind. And it doesn't matter whether you got pulled over or not, or you ended up dying or not, or, you know, it was just a normal pullover, get your, you know, ticket and move on with your life. It doesn't matter what happened. It's the fact that your beliefs, your life experiences have led you to the point to believe that, to think that you had anxiety about it, fight or flight. And so many of these black people who people are like, why do they resist? Why do they run? It's like, because they think they're gonna die. They have that fight or flight instinct come to their mind, and like anyone else everyone's felt that. Everyone's felt anxiety. Everyone's felt the feeling, do I run or do I fight? You don't feel it when you're with police because you're privileged to not have the life experiences to believe that there's a chance you're gonna die. Other people have.
It's funny that you get to that point too, because when I was living in Kenya, I would tell more of my closer friends, I was like, I joined the police. I like the idea. Like, if I wasn't scared of dying as much as I am, I'd definitely join the police. And they're like, oh, I know, fuck 12. I'm like, yeah, like, fuck 12. But, like, I joined the police because it always came back to the idea, like, this is all before I came to the States. Right. Came back to the States as an older black man. And because I was always going off the idea of what the police were to me. Like, what the idea of, the fundamental idea of law enforcement is. And it's like, to do what you guys are doing requires you to be a special kind of person. And even some of the years, even after that experience with the whole cop and like him driving past me, I still kind of wanted to be, or like I didn't want to, like, it wasn't something I was going towards in my life, but I was like, I would be, like, if someone had asked me to be a police officer, I would be like, fuck you, and I'm like, yeah, why not? And that's all because I'd always understood that they looked at me different, without a doubt. But in my head, it was like, if I can get into the system and change it from the inside, then maybe I can do some good from that side. And it was never, I never had to call upon myself to like look for that education to be like, what is really going on constantly. And it's always because my parents like, you know, killed themselves working so hard to make sure that we were living to a certain standard. So a lot of those things didn't really apply to me. I'm not saying that because my parents worked harder, I'm better than most black people. I'm just saying that I know a lot of people who are at my standing and didn't really, I don't want to say understand, but didn't, you know of all the problems that were going on. We talked about this when you called me before. I was talking to people who were like, you know, why aren't they, like, we shouldn't let these, like, protesters, rioters out because, you know, Corona, like, that was such a problem, like, 2 weeks ago, like, why isn't it a problem now? I'm like, so it wasn't a problem when y'all were protesting to get haircuts, or when y'all were protesting to, like, go back to the gym? It wasn't a problem then? Like, no, it was a problem. I was like, listen, like, whether you're protesting for something that has been a problem since the establishment of America, or a problem that's been going on for the past 2 months, like, America is now the epicenter of this, like, virus. Like, no one should be outside. But the only difference is, what we're protesting has been going on a lot longer than just one summer. So it's like, if you're gonna be mad at me, or if you're gonna be mad at this cause, like, be right. Like, just be, like, that's all I'm asking is, like, if you're gonna be mad, like, just be mad with facts.
Yeah. Politics is just so tough. I try and stay away from it. Because people are so embedded in their beliefs there that it's really hard to change them. But it's important, I think, to be able to question them at least question them why you believe what you believe. And I think in our age, with all the information, everything you say and do is caught on video, and you can just see politicians from both parties, they so easily going back and forth, whatever's convenient for that day, and you could just see it. And there's so many examples, and it's an important thing to question. Like I'm believing everything I hear from this group of people or this person, but they just flip flop so easily on clearly the same issue. An athlete being able to speak out. If your position is that athletes can't speak about politics, fine. America, have your own position. Make sure it's the same position when it's one side and one side and the other side, one race, the other race. I just think that's a good example of make sure you can question your beliefs and who you're listening to.
I think it's important that you bring up, especially the beliefs part, because the systemic, like, at this point, it's not really a question of whether you believe that there's systemic racism in America. It's whether you are supporting it or you're not. Like police had quotas for arrests, and jailhouses were given money on how many inmates they had. So, like, everyone was winning if there were more people in jail and all that. But the Black Panther movement planned to help make free dentists, do free college education. They started the whole free breakfast thing that, like, the government does that everyone thinks is really great for public schools. The Black Panther movement started that.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
A lot of people don't know that. They started giving out free breakfast to kids. That was one of the first things they did. And a lot of what they were doing was solely about black empowerment and getting black people to the same standing as white people. That's really what the most of their agenda was about. The only reason that we only remember the violence and the guns is because when the FBI was formed, one of their main tasks wasn't to necessarily go out and kill the Black Panther, but was to discredit them.
Right.
So you turn around and history writes them off as these very violent, and at that time, black people were being associated with heroin, so drugs. So you have history painting them as these aggressive, drug-fueled black people who were just, trying to fight the man. But, like, that's nothing close to what they were doing. Yeah. They were solely, like, their main aim was to go out and empower black people. Like, they wanted to just build all these infrastructures that we have nowadays, but solely for black people, run by black people, and funded by black people. That's it. Like, that was their main aim. But they, they're going down in history as these super violent, killers or whatever.
Well, it's the winners write history, as someone recently said, and It's true. Like anything else in life, it's all about perspective and what you focus on. And you don't need to agree with everything someone says, with everything someone believes. What's important and how you connect with people and how you have a happier life, in my opinion, is that you believe that they have a right to have that opinion, and that those their life experiences have led them to a point to believe what they believe, as we all have, all of our life experiences. But but on the issue of race, it's there's only one side, and it's on the side of bringing an entire class of Americans up to the level of privilege that we all should have. I hope everyone out there wants to get to a place where everyone can feel, oh shit, I might get a ticket, it's $100 down the drain, and not, oh shit, I might die. And it's important for us to debate and discuss and have different opinions. But I think as a country, we just need to and as a world, we need to come together and empathize with each other. And I think that's how we see the solution. Because I think there are people out there who just think that people are just doing this for no reason. I really think that they don't think they're racist, and they just don't understand. And they had no problem with, like you said, it's just the people going out and protesting COVID and saying, you can't keep us in our houses, this and that. And now those same people have flipped to say, why are these people outside? They're all going to die. Yeah. And I just hope people out there who may be one of those people, like, you're not a bad person. You just, like, it may be good for your own mental health. Just take a step back and question why you thought one way on that issue and this way on the other issue, and just understand people's experiences. Even if you don't agree with what he said, with what Miguel said, understand he believes it, and he's not lying, and he feels this way, and have empathy for that as another human being, a valuable human being. He's a smart kid.
Well, shucks.
I apologize. I didn't qualify you like I qualified Tanner, but he actually went to I went to Chaminade High School, which is a very good school on Long Island. He went to the kind of brother school, Kellenberg, a great high school, and clearly a well-spoken, smart kid. And that shouldn't matter, even if he wasn't. He still has a right to his opinions and his beliefs. And we just need to connect with each other and understand each other better. And I think that was a great discussion on beliefs and kind of where the feelings come from. If you want to talk, I know you touched on it earlier, but I know you're working with an organization trying to actually get some of these, you have ideas for ways you want to see things improve in the future for you and for the people around you. And I think it's great that you have ideas. It's important. And so, if you want to use this as a platform to share them, there are people out there who agree with them and want to be on your side with that.
Just a quick shout out to there's this Instagram page that started right now with my girlfriend. It's CRP.2020 civil rights platform. It's basically, we are aiming to get enough people behind us and following us so we can create enough following to go to one of our senators and to lobby an actual bill on police reform, or altogether getting rid of the NYPD, to properly allocate those taxes and those the cash to, like, either train them better or to spread out the cash to social workers and to make actual long-lasting change than just being mad. I understand being mad because I'm mad every time I go out to protest, but we need to do more than just be mad. We need to make change for our friends, for your younger cousin, for your younger sibling, and this is one way. On top of this, there's a bunch of other sites that you can read up on yourself, but that's one way that I'm going about it. CRP.2020. Give it a look.
Again, it's so important to care about the future of our society and our country and the groups we're in. A lot of beliefs from these groups are just, I don't subscribe. They don't make any sense. They just don't make any sense. So you just feel free to believe a few things from the groups you're in and not ascribe to all of them. And as long as the group isn't spreading hate or anything, I don't think there's anything wrong with being part of a group that you don't agree with everything. If you're conservative or Republican or liberal or Democrat, and I just always feel like, especially with politics, how you could believe everything one group thinks. It's just always been questionable to me. Like, it's kind of off topic, but just like this world is so confusing because we all have different life experiences to lead us to our beliefs. I highly doubt everyone in that group has the same life experiences to lead you to the same beliefs. It's just, why do you believe those, every single thing? I'm not saying all of them are wrong. I'm just saying some of them you might actually feel differently, and you've just never questioned and never looked inside yourself. And I think it's really powerful to do that.
And it calls to both sides, not just like, because I know a lot of people, when we say like, oh, they just believe whatever they're told, most people run to the conservative side. It's for liberals too.
Absolutely.
And or Democrats, and it's that you have to, exactly what you're saying, you have to call upon yourself to, like what I was referencing in the very beginning, you have to call upon yourself every single day to do, to wake up and do this and do that, and the next day, make yourself better. And if you just, it's easy just to say, oh, I'm a Democrat, so you fit in with whoever you're around, and you don't ever question, like, who's running? What do they stand for? Oh, they're going to, have more taxes to build roads. I don't care about roads. I walk. I need better transit. And you're just taking the box for whoever you're taking for because they're a Democrat is just as bad as saying that I don't vote or I do vote or whatever you choose to, whether you take part in politics or not, if you're not choosing to take steps or use your voice to actually advocate for something that matters, especially to yourself, if anything else, because it's so easy to just be like, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, oh, you're voting for this guy? Cool, I'll just do it too. Or, oh, like, this is what this party believes? Oh, I believe it too. Like, no, I mean, if we're going to bring politics, I would say, quote unquote, I think I'm a Democrat. I don't even really know what I really think I am. But I took a test, and there's a lot of Republican views that I agree with. I think there should be less taxes, because I work a lot, and I get really mad when I see, like, at the bottom of my check, like, oh, this is how much I would have made? That sucks, like, a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, do I think there should be healthcare? I mean, I don't want to get into politics.
No, listen, this whole time we've been talking about the politics, I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, am I going to publish this or am I going to cut this out? And if you're going to not support our company because of things, the guests I have on have their own beliefs and opinions, if you're like, oh, this company's, it's wanted to, NYC Nature wants to defund the police, it's like, well, then you weren't going to support the company anyway. So we'll see if I publish it or not. But I'll just say it's like, and I think that's how we got to the point of like today in politics. When I look and again, I'm dumb. I don't know much about anything, and but I look at these politicians and it just seems like they care a lot more about getting people angry and getting attention. Like
I have one thing just to add on that I thought was so funny that when it happened I had to call my dad and we laughed about it. When I was listening to that hearing. And this hearing that was brought upon about the inadequacy of the American health stockpile.
Yeah.
One of the senators called a pause to the entire hearing because he's like, "Hey, usually they're not allowed their lawyer here. Are we just gonna break this one rule? Is this something we're gonna do?" And she has a mic. I'm sorry, it wasn't even about whether she should have his lawyer here. It's whether she should have a mic because usually lawyers aren't allowed mics.
Right.
And they're like, if we're gonna give this one a mic, are we gonna break the rules for this one hearing, or is this gonna be the norm? And the speaker's like, are you fucking kidding me? I was sitting there, I was like, they argued about that for 5 minutes. She wasn't even arguing. She's like, I don't understand the relevance of this, whether she has a mic or not. We're talking about the inadequacy of our government.
Right.
Why does it matter if she has a mic? That's something they actually argue on a televised hearing for I think 5 to 10 minutes. And I was like, this is insane. This is unbelievable. These are the people who make the decisions about how I live my life in this country.
Right.
On the day-to-day basis. I thought it was hilarious.
It is. It's just they want something to argue about, and it was just
for that perfect bite, that perfect little sentence that he says the wrong thing, and I can use this to get all my constituents all riled up,
and just they're trying to get. And I don't like painting people with a broad brush, but at least the politicians they put on TV and you see get retweeted the most, and the ones if you watch the cable news. You'll see it just seems like they're the ones who do the best job of getting people angry, getting their side angry. And there's really two ways you can connect people in life, and one of them is fear, and the other one is love and friendship. And you can see leaders throughout history who connected people with fear. Some of the politicians we have now. I'm not making a comparison here, just about how they used fear, but Hitler did it. Greatly, he united an entire nation behind fear that this other group of people was
the problem.
And Then there's other leaders who united people with friendship and love. People like Gandhi, Jesus, MLK, and it's just ask yourself, who would you rather be more like? And I just it doesn't frighten me, but it makes me anxious that a lot of our leaders seem to go more on the side of using fear to unite their bases.
It's funny because you don't even have to go as far as our leaders. You can go as close as like ourselves in our everyday. Like whenever I have to take the train, what people talk about on the train is, God, the train's late again, and like you can have a whole conversation with any other New Yorker about the train being late or how much like the transit system sucks. And it's like, if it can work on such a small scale, imagine if there's one dude who came up and had a whole idea about how to fix the train system. Like, we'd all rally to that guy.
Right.
It doesn't even have to go as big as, you know, our government leaders or anything. It's just on our everyday. Like, if you look to ourselves, like, you connect through people. All the random instances happen through either people being scared of something or angry or afraid of something, like you're saying, or people seeing something beautiful and everyone being like, oh, isn't that great? Like, those are the two things that draw random people together. And if you have one singular person polarized at the center of those things, you're going to get a bunch of people together. It's just basic human nature. It's just how we are.
Yeah.
We got together out of groups because we knew we could survive together longer. We knew that like human connection is needed to continue our race. Like, at our basic core, like, those are the things that bring us together. If you get one person who can embody one of those two things and you put them at the center, they're going to bring people together. It's like, and it's horrible that more people, exactly what you're saying, it's horrible that more people are leaning towards fear, because that's just, it'll work, but it's just the worst way to do it.
At what cost? And
Exactly.
yeah, fear of friendship. I like that. I'm gonna put that on a shirt. But no, just to sum up, what a great conversation. I just want to say, you know, Miguel and I met about 10 minutes before we started recording this, and we used friendship to connect right now. You know, I'm sure Miguel would not agree with every single one of my beliefs, and I'm sure I don't believe with every one of his beliefs, but it didn't matter. The only thing we needed to connect with each other was the fact that we both respect each other. You see, we're different people. He looks like he can bench press 300 pounds. I can't bench press anything. He's black, I'm white. You know, we're different on so many levels, but we're the same in the fact that we're human beings, and it's so easy to connect with people when you use friendship instead of fear. And it's a much more enjoyable experience. So I really enjoyed this chat and getting to know Miguel a little bit more. Hope you come back and hope you come back and chat more. You know, a lot of things we talked about quickly off camera beforehand. Just other topics. You know, NYC Nature Hope we'll be talking about. Again, really appreciate your time. Really grateful for it, and I hope we get to speak with you again.
You'd say, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I really do. Thank you.